I hope all of y'all appreciate how great that is sometime.
It's a phenomenal event, and we appreciate you and everyone else that's involved in it. It's a real treat to the community for the families that come out, and I look forward each year. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you all there.
Thank you. We've got Councilor Thomas.
Mr. Flournoy, while all of the planes and all of that's going on, I also understand that this year there's going to be the 9/11 Never Forget mobile exhibit that's going to be, and I've not seen it, but I understand it's something that should not be missed. I don't know if you're familiar with it, and you could speak to it of what that particular piece will be.
Well, they've got a series of mobile exhibits that are in the form of, trailers that are kind of linked together. They have individuals, firefighters and first responders that participated in the 9/11 in New York. So they tell firsthand stories about it, and I think that added a lot to the living history of, what that event was about and the camaraderie that community brought together to, but it's very moving, yeah.
And I understand that the organizations that our first responders belong to, like the FOP and the Columbus Firefighters Association, and some of those groups are very instrumental in helping put that together and staff it and to get it here. And so I'd recommend not only going up in the helicopter and the airplane, but also the 9/11.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of educational exhibits that also are kind of fun to see. And so,
plus lots of good food. Thank you, Mr. Flournoy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Let's see. Antonio Carter. Is Mr. Carter here? No? Okay. And I know that number 5, we had Ms. Dana Hendricks did cancel, and then number 5 also had to leave. So it looks like that concludes our public agenda, but we will have those individuals, to the extent they still want to come and address council, we'll get them scheduled back. So I'm sure we'll be hearing from them in the future. That brings us to the city manager's agenda, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Hughley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First on my agenda is abandonment of all easements located on Big Creek Drive, also known as 7891 Big Creek Drive. We've got homeowners, James and Peggy Saley. They submitted a request to engineering that all easements located on their property be abandoned.
Got a motion for approval and a second. Was there anything you needed to add, or is that it, Mr. City Manager?
Well, no, and they're basically trying to put a structure, and we have no issues with it, so
Okay.
we do recommend that.
All right. I will cue it for electronic voting. You may cast your vote. Let's see. Make sure we have everybody. Councilor Henderson, for some reason it didn't. There you go. Okay. Thank you. It passed.
Next, I've got a street acceptance that we have no issue with. Approval is requested for acceptance of a deed of a portion of Double Pan Drive.
Got a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll cue it for voting. And you may record your votes electronically. It passes.
Next, I've got a FEMA disaster assistance application that we are wanting to submit, and if approved, accept FEMA dollars as administered by the Georgia.
Got a motion and second for approval. Is there any discussion on this item? Yes, so let's see, Councilor Thomas.
I'd just like to make note that this is for the heavy rains and so forth that was over the December 22nd, the Christmas.
Yes, from December 22nd through January 13, December 22nd of 15 through January 13 of 16, all of that rain that we received, yes.
Thank you.
All right. There being no further discussion, You may record your votes electronically. And it passes.
Got a 2016 Homeland Security Grant Program for hazmat. It's
Got a motion and second for the, which item is it, Mr.?
hazmat. It's
Oh, okay, 4. All right, and seeing that there's no discussion, I will cue it to vote. Yes, all right. And it does vote there. Okay, yeah, I was going to say we had one abstention, but it changed. Thank you. All right,
also a Homeland Security Grant for Georgia Search and Rescue. It's $117,320.
got a motion and second for approval. I see no discussion. It is queued to vote. Okay. And it does pass.
Got a Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant up to $750,000. We're asking your approval to allow us to submit this
We have a
grant.
motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, it is queued to vote. And it passes.
Next, I've got an application for $2,500 from Coca-Cola Bottling Company, Serve Your City Grant. This is
We've got a motion and second for approval of the Coca-Cola Bottling Company Serve Your City Grant. And the award is to accept funds of $2,500 from Coca-Cola Bottling Company. Seeing no discussion, it is queued to vote. Did you? Oh, okay. All right.
it's
Yeah, we need to, I'm sorry, the Mayor Pro Tem would like to know what the grant is for.
okay. It's for a Parks and Rec
Oh.
program that they refer to as Little Free Library Program, where books will be donated by the organizations in the community, and they'll be stored at a rec center. And anyone may take a book or bring a book to share. And so it's a unique kind of program that will be handled by Parks and Rec.
Did you? Wait, hold on a second, let me get you, switch back over. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted the community to know, because there may be some others who want to contribute to that.
Yes.
I need you to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's off.
Okay, well, will you, Madam Clerk, please record the Mayor Pro Tem's vote in the affirmative? Okay? Thank you.
And a Georgia Recreation and Park Association Innovative Grant. It's $1,000 for the same program, the Little Free Library Program.
We've got a motion and second for approval. Seeing no discussion, I'll cue this item for voting. You may record your vote. We've got sticky buttons out there somewhere. There we go. All right, thank you. And it does pass.
And got a 2015-2016 Night Cities Challenge Grant. It's for $229,950 or as otherwise awarded. This is through the Community Foundation of the Chattahoochee Valley. It's a grant that would allow for public Wi-Fi around the natatorium, plaza area of Government Center, and the area surrounding the Civic Center.
Got a motion and a
there's no
second for
match.
approval. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please record your votes electronically. And as you're doing that, let me say that Betsy Covington asked me to remind all counselors in the community that at 5:30 tonight, there will be an event at the Wicked Hen on 13th Street in Midtown to celebrate the night Foundation grants. So please do come and help our community celebrate. Maybe we'll find out that we received some of those grants.
Okay, I've got purchases. First, electronic validating fare boxes, 4 of them for Metra. This is T-Splost funds. It's $53,806.
Got a motion and second for approval. Seeing that there's no discussion, I'll cue it to vote, and you may record your votes electronically. It passes.
And next, I've got low-floor ADA minivan. This is 80-10-10 money, 80% federal, 10% state, 10% local for
Motion and
Metro.
second for approval. Seeing no discussion, it is queued to vote. One more. There we go. It
Got
passes.
Front Avenue striping from 14th Street to 13th Street.
Got a motion and second for approval. Seeing no discussion. Oh, hold on a second. Hold on.
Do you know when that stretch of street's going to be opened? Do we have any kind of a timeline?
I'm going to ask Engineer Donna Newman to respond to that.
We're thinking around the June timeframe when they finish the plaza work, the 14th Street section, then the goal is to have front open and then 14th Street open.
Thank you.
All right. With that, I'll cue it for your electronic vote. You may vote. And it passes.
I've got asking for approval for IBM Smart Cloud license renewal. It's $51,312.
All right, a motion and second. There's no discussion. Please record your votes electronically. And it does pass.
The next one is for the Tax Commissioner's Office. It's printing, postage, and mail processing service of motor vehicle registration renewal notices.
A motion and second for approval. There being no discussion, cue it to vote. And it does pass.
Got Pine Grove Municipal Solid Waste Landfill Pump Station number 1, and this collects leachate from landfill and pumps it to the sanitary system to be treated.
And a motion and second for approval. Seeing that there's no discussion on this item, it is queued for your voting. There we go, and it passes.
The next one is for carpet on an as-needed basis throughout the government. It's with Huckabee Brothers Floor, $55,000 for carpet on an as-needed basis.
And a motion and second for approval. Appears to be no discussion. It is queued for voting. Need one more. Let's see, who's missing? Oh, I guess we've got it. Maybe Councilor Huff stepped out. Okay.
I've got next tasers for the police department.
Counselor
It's 50 tasers.
Hold on a second. For some reason, it did not record Councilor Davis's vote. He was in the affirmative. Can you record that? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Singh.
Tasers for 50 tasers for the Columbus Police Department. It's $53,192.75.
Got a motion and second for approval. Seeing that there's no discussion, it is queued for your electronic voting. And Councilor Buck this time, for some reason, it's sticking. If you could record your vote again. Councilor Buck. All right, and it did. We've got everybody. Thank you. All right. They're sticking today.
Next, I've got mobile automated license plate reader for the Columbus Police Department. It's 2 of them.
Got a motion and second for approval. Seeing there's no discussion, they're queued for electronic voting. And it passes.
Also for the Columbus Police Department, I've got tablets for police vehicles.
Had a motion and a second for approval. There being no discussion, not a moment, and it's queued for voting. It passes.
Next, I've got consultant and insurance broker services for property and crime insurance. I'm going to ask Finance Director Pam Hodge to just come around and speak to this for a minute. We are recommending a contract with Yates Insurance Agency, doing business as Yates, Woolfolk, and Turner Insurance for consulting insurance brokerage services, and they are a local vendor. And you have any comments that we've gone through the process?
Yes.
And why don't you just talk about that for a
Sure.
second?
We went through the RFP process. We had 3 voting members on this particular committee. Was the internal auditor, the risk manager, and then the director, interim director of inspection and codes. They went through the evaluation process and reviewed the proposals that were submitted, have scored those proposals, and have made a recommendation for the highest ranked vendor, which was Yates Insurance Agency Incorporated, to be awarded the property and casualty broker contract going forward. Part of this particular evaluation is price, and not all of it is evaluated off of price, but Yates was a lower price component than what was submitted by the other proposals.
We have a motion for approval. There may be, in a second. Is there any discussion on this? Okay. Seeing that there's none, we'll cue it for voting. It's for vote. Thank you. I need 2 more. Yep. All right. Let's see. Somebody's sticking again. There we go. All right. Thank you. All right.
I've got a few updates, and the first one...
Hold on a
I'm
second.
sorry.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me just look real quick, make sure we don't have any. We've got an executive session individual that needs to leave. And so if council is so inclined, I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session. We've got a motion and a second. Oh, excuse me, for litigation, personnel, and that's it. Okay. Just hopefully take a short time, Terry. Appreciate you very much. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Okay. All right, if you would please clear the chambers. Thank you. We just exited executive session, which was on litigation and personnel, and now we will reconvene our business meeting. The city manager has an update, so Mr. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and go to the clerk's agenda and let me get Ms. Betty Middleton and
Okay,
John
sounds
Williams.
good.
Yeah.
We're going to move on into the clerk's agenda then. Madam Clerk.
Madam Mayor and Council, on the clerk's agenda, items 1 through 13 is information for council. We have several board vacancies that will be coming up next month in the month of June. Also, several biographical sketches of various individuals for board seats. Resolutions 14 through 20 are resolutions to
Got a motion and second for approval.
I'm sorry, who made the second?
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
all those in favor, please state aye.
We have 2 letter resignations, one from Carmen Conveza resigning from the Development Authority, and one from Maddie Wright resigning from Family and Children Services.
We've got a motion that it be received with regrets and a second. All those in favor, please state aye. We got all those in favor, please state aye. Okay.
We have an add-on resolution to excuse Councilor Baker from today's meeting.
Got a motion and second for approval. All those in favor, please state aye.
Various boards.
Got a motion that the minutes be received. All those in favor, please state aye.
On our board appointments, on our Civic Center Advisory Board, District 1, Mr. Walter Lewis is not eligible. I know Councilor Barnes is working on that.
We've got Counselor Thomas.
Ms. Washington, I had received an email from Richie Grantham, who is the District 9 person on that board, that he had resigned, and this has never come up on here. Would you check that out?
Right.
See where we are on that?
Right, Lindsay did mention that to us, and I apologize, I forgot to do that.
Thank you.
And then District 2, Mr. Alton Russell can be confirmed for that seat.
Motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
And District 7, Mimi, she's gone. On our Circle Commission, Councilor Barnes is nominating Mr. Paul Hernandez for Mr. John Wan's seat. We'll bring this back at our next meeting for confirmation. And we still need someone for Mr. Augusto's seat. On a Community Development Advisory Council, Mr. Jack Hayes, who represents District 2, is not eligible to succeed himself. Mayor Pro Tem is nominating Ms. Valerie Thompson for District 4. She can be confirmed.
A motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
And Mr. Shahid represents District 8, does not want to serve again, as well as Colin Martin. We'll need 2 representatives for those 2 seats. On our Development Authority, for Mr. William Taylor's seat, we have 2 nominees, Mr. Jason Covas and Mr. Carl Douglas. Councilor Allen. Councilor Barnes. Councilor Davis. Councilor Henderson. Councilor Thomas. Councilor Mayor Pro Tem. Okay. Mr. Covas has 5. We need 6. We'll have to bring this back at our next meeting to take another vote. Mr. Alfred Blackmore has been nominated for Mr. Cavega's seat. He can be confirmed.
Move confirmation.
Got a motion for confirmation. Is there a second? A second. All those in favor, please state aye.
On our Historic and Architectural Review, Ms. Rebecca Antribius has resigned. This is a Historic District resident. We'll need another nominee for that seat. On our Personnel Review Board, Mr. Ron Mahoney's seat, Mayor Pro Tem is nominating Dr. Michael Forte. We'll bring this back at our next meeting for confirmation. On our Recreation Advisory Board, Councilor Woodson is working on District 7 nominee. For District 8, Councilor Buck is nominating Mr. Hayden Barnes. He can be confirmed.
Move confirmation.
Motion and second. All those in favor, please state aye.
We'll have to bring the rest of them back. We don't have a quorum right now. Councilor Allen had to step out for a conference call, so we'll delay the rest of them until our next meeting.
All right, that's what we'll do then. Mr. City Manager, back to you.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I've got the tax assessor Betty Middleton here and her assistant assessor John Williams, and they are going to do a follow-up update on IAS World. There were some questions that we wanted to get back with a few of the council members on, and it's for all of you, but Mr. John Williams.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, Madam Mayor, City Council members, City Attorney. I met with you with the project manager, Steve Wise, back on March 8th for a project update for the Tyler Technology project, and several questions came up at that meeting. And so I have taken about a month to gather all the information I think was asked for, and I'm prepared to go by those questions one question at a time and give you the answers. I'm sure there will be follow-up questions. I just want to say now, if at any time any of you want to speak with me or anybody in my office, we are open at any time for you to give me a call or come by and see me. I'd be glad to go over any of the information that I'm about to present to you. Councilor Allen, who's absent right this second, but City Manager, should I go ahead and go through those questions without him here? Okay. During the brief, it came up, what does the 69,507 parcels include? Please break that out, commercial, residential, et cetera. So under 1A, we talk about that number 69,507. That was as of March 7th, the day before that March 8th City Council meeting. That does not include exempt properties. Under B, the 69,108 taxable real property parcels as of the 2015 OASIS data. And until we get 2016 data approved by our Board of Assessors, we work with the 2015 data. So that's why that number's in there. I go on, I'll describe the differences in a moment between that 69,507 and the 69,180. Within the 69,180, there are 63,637 improved parcels, 5,543 vacant parcels. Of the improved parcels, 58,409 are residential, and that's residential and condominium. The 5,032 are commercial and 196 are industrial. Beneath that, in the Roman numeral 1 through 7, I actually break out and add to those numbers. I'll give you the vacant parcels, vacant residential land, vacant commercial, vacant industrial. Also talk about CUVA, or Conservation Use Valuation Assessment. That's an exemption that landowners can take, so that's also vacant land. But that, I don't think I need to read it line by line to you. That's a breakout that Councilor Allen asked for. The difference, as I described earlier, the 69,507 compared to the 69,180, there are approximately 327 newly added parcels between last year and this year. So that's why there's a difference in those numbers I reported last month, and the OASIS numbers. Go on to question number 2. How did we arrive at the 35,014 homestead number? That is a digest number from the 2015 digest, which is prepared by the Tax Commissioner's Office. So it comes directly from that. On to question 3, provide a total residential count and how many of those are homesteaded. There are 58, as I said before, 58,409 total residential. That includes condominium. 35,014, approximately 60% of those are homesteaded in 2015. Again, that's a digest number I just went over. 23,395, approximately 40%, are without homestead on the 2015 digest. The next question was, when did the owners of the non-homesteaded properties take over these properties? Are they in the queue for homestead, and how many are awaiting homestead application? As of just yesterday, or the 8th of this month, there were 1,803 homestead applications awaiting approval. The other question, honestly, we're not able to give you occupancy of what the occupancy is of non-homesteaded properties. That's not something that OASIS keeps up with. It's not something we track in OASIS. As we go through the Tyler Technology customization, which we meet every other week on, that's something that I intend to have the ability built into it. That's something that moving forward in OASIS we will hopefully be able to extract. Now, just a side note, the beauty of the the IES World software, it's a superior product to just about anything else I've seen. If we can capture the information and put it in that system, we can report on it. So in the past, we haven't necessarily asked, is that house owner occupied? I see you don't have homestead exemption. Is it owner occupied? We don't ask those questions, but we're going to start. So if we can put it into IS World, then we can extract it and analyze it. The city manager asked a couple questions. Please provide a complete breakdown of the numbers, and that was referring to a prior briefing that you and I had, sir. Several of the numbers were answered in Councilor Allen's question number 1 above, but I believe you're also talking about the improvements found. That was not discussed at the last meeting. Of the 58,409 improved residential properties reviewed by Tyler Technology, 20,864, approximately 36%, required some form of edit. Again, we've talked about that before. It could be a measurement that was slightly off. It could be a storage building. It could be a carport that was added or taken away. There were edits required. Within those 20,864 requiring edit, 53% of them had some form of improvement added. And again, that's something that Tyler Technologies is doing right now. They're taking what they found and putting it into the IS World software. So to summarize that, of all the residential properties we looked at, 19% of them had some form of improvement added. On to 1B, of the 5,228 improved commercial industrial properties reviewed, 38% or 1,977 also required some form of edit. As you would imagine, with commercial property, it's quite different from residential property. The improvements added are not really seen from an aerial photograph. It's something that we catch typically with something more than what you would see on a residential property, like a carport or storage or a patio, something like that. That doesn't exist. It's really difficult to track that type of improvement at this stage of the project. Ms. City Manager, you recalled us talking about 53,000 roughly residential properties, and you asked that we had more than 35,000. I believe you were referring to the homestead. Again, that was answered in number 3B and C above. Going on to the second page, Councilor Henderson, you asked a couple questions. How many residential properties are owner occupied? Like I said before, OASIS it really isn't capable at this time of answering that type of question. I am working with IAS World to implement that so we can report that in the future. Under how many or what percentage of owners choose not to file homestead exemption, the closest I can come to answering that is in Councilor Allen's answers 3C. Councilor Davis, you had 2 questions that were a lot larger than the time it took you to ask them. As I talked with the city manager, I believe that the information we're about to go over has really never been presented in any format. I've summarized the information. There is a lot of work that goes into these answers. So I hope that I've answered your question, and once I get through, we'll take more if you have them. I'm going to skip down to question number 2 first because the last answer is on the back page. Question number 2, provide what amount of land, I assume you mean property, over the last 5 to 10 years that's come off the tax rolls for nonprofit organizations out there that we've lost in property taxes. Of course, we don't currently track land specifically, but we do have data showing increases and decreases from year to year by exemption. The category E1 exemption is public property, which I assume is what you were intending to ask me about. Public property, of course, includes the Housing Authority, Development Authority, Hospital Authority, DOT, State of Georgia, and the Columbus Consolidated Government. So I've broken down by year what the total amount was, such as 2006, it was $250.9 million in public property. And then you can see as the years go by what that number changed to, and the percent out beside that number is the percent of growth compared to the prior year. If you'd like, I can go down each number, but I'm sure all of you can read those. I summarized in Part B of question 2, when you look at the number in 2006 and compare it to 2015, which is the last reported year, it's a 22.42% increase in public property. Now, we deal in property value, we don't deal in taxes, so you're going to see values here and percentages of value changes, not necessarily taxes. That includes additions, subtractions, value fluctuations, reassessments of those properties as those years go by. Let's jump up to your first question. Can you provide us with an understanding of what the next several years of tax abatements are going to be like, those expiring this year and for the next 5 to 10 years, so that they can get an idea of what new revenue might be coming into the city and what can be expected? If you turn to the back page, this is one of those documents that, again, I don't think has ever been reported in a summary like this. What we did is we looked at all the industrial revenue bonds, and we summarized them from 2016 moving forward into 2030. Some of you have a line at the bottom of your page. That's not a cutoff of any kind. That was just something that the copier did. I haven't extracted or removed any information off this page. So as you can see in year 2016, we have 4 issues of bonds that are going to expire. The face value of those bonds is $20.1 million. And I can go on down 2017, 2018, and so on and tell you how many issues are expiring and what the face value of the bond was. If you think about it for a second, it makes sense. We don't have any way of valuing property in the future. So I can't tell you what that property is going to be worth when it expires. All I can tell you is what the bond amount was. We will know when it expires. We go back out and we start to revalue that property. That also includes personal property within the bond. And so personal property is often removed before the final term, before the full length of the bond. You know, within a 10-year time frame, that kind of drops off. Sometimes that personal property goes away. Sometimes that personal property is retired and new personal property is brought in. Sometimes those bonds are rewritten and extended and they have a new bond program. So there's a lot of what-ifs that can go into that question, but I tried to summarize the answers as we can provide them, and hopefully I've given you some information that does just that. I will take your questions.
Yes, we have Councilor
at this time.
Henderson.
Yes, sir.
Just quickly, is multifamily included in the residential or commercial?
No, it's commercial.
Commercial. Thank you.
Okay. All right. It looks like that's it. Thank you
Okay.
very much. We
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate your effort.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we will postpone the rest of our agenda till the next time we meet, and we have a quorum. And so, since we don't have a quorum, there's no need to entertain a motion to adjourn. I'll just declare us adjourned, and we will see you in 2 Tuesdays. Thank you. We're adjourned.